Hi, I'm Hailey Eber, the food editor at Los Angeles Magazine, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to our first ever happy hour at home. Today's episode is sponsored by Mountain Valley Spring Water, and we'll be joined today by Chef Michael Reed of Poppy and Rose, who will be demonstrating a summer dish paired with a cocktail, both using peaches and Mountain Valley white peach sparkling water. And for those of you following along at home, we'd love to see photos of your experience. You can post to Instagram and tag at @LAMag and at Mountain Valley Water. We'll also be having a bit of trivia throughout with the chance to win 3, 6, or 12 months of home delivery from Mountain Valley Spring Water. Yes, that's right. You can not only get this water at fine retailers and grocery stores, but you can have it delivered right to your home or office. To participate in the trivia, just type your answer in the chat box. The first to respond with the correct answer wins, and we'll announce all the winners at the end of the program, so stay tuned to see if you win. All right, let's see. We've got our first question for the chance to win a 3-month supply. Mountain Valley Water was featured in an episode of what television show? Glee, Modern Family, Parks and Recreation, or The Sopranos? Stay tuned to see the answer and who wins. Now I'd like to introduce our chef, Michael Reed from downtown's Poppy and Reed. Welcome, Michael. Tell us a bit about the restaurant.
We're between 7th and 8th Street on Wall Street in the downtown Los Angeles Flower Market. We've been there for 6 years now. We've been just cooking up a breakfast storm for everyone that wants and buys flowers.
Awesome. What is your most popular breakfast dish?
So we're known for a couple things. We make everything in-house from scratch. So our pulled pork hash with our house-made brick hash, they're beautiful, nice bricks of potato topped with
awesome.
Our house-made pulled pork is one of our signature dishes, but we're also anything fried chicken. Fried chicken and waffles,
yeah.
Fried chicken sandwich. That's what we do best.
Awesome. And how have things been going? I know it's a really challenging time for restaurants right now.
It's been a learning curve, but downtown LA has been a huge fan, and our clients and our guests that patron our restaurant have been going strong. So thank you to everyone that's been dining at Poppy and Rose. We appreciate your support. You know, it's been amazing.
Great. All right. Well, now it looks like it's cocktail time. Tell us a bit about the drink we're going to be making tonight.
So we're going to pair this dish with basically a Moscow spritzer. So we got our Moscow. We have our wonderful mineral mountain spring water that's infused with peaches. We're going to be using these peaches that we got from Ruggiero Farm at the farmer's market on Wednesday. A little bit of
awesome.
And a ton of fresh herbs. So we're going to muddle some mint into there. It's going to be amazing, light, great for summer.
Cool. It's prime time for peaches right now, I would imagine.
That it is. So
and how does the Mountain Valley white peach sparkling water work in the cocktail? What do you? I don't think a lot of people always think of it for cocktails.
As a spritzer, you're looking for that minerality that Mountain Valley has. Going with this peach cocktail, we're basically using their white peach infused water, which is going to reinforce that beautiful summer peach that we're using for the cocktail. And it's going to bring out it's going to complement this mezcal really well because it's not too smoky, but just enough where it's an underlay and it's going to be super light. You won't even know that you're drinking a cocktail.
That can get dangerous. And what kind of mezcal are you using? Do you have a favorite mezcal?
I don't have it. I'm more of a bourbon drinker, but mezcal and peaches to me are a perfect combination, especially if you're grilling because you got that smokiness going on.
Totally. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll let you get to it. I'm going to have a little bit of water while.
So we're going to start real simple. We're going to take a peach. We're going to pour it out. So per each cocktail, you're going to need a quarter of the peach, just thinly sliced.
Any amazing secret chef tricks to working with peaches, cutting, slicing, dicing them?
Sharp knife. Just always have a sharp knife.
That's always a good. And those of you following along at home, if you have any questions for the chef, feel free to type them into your chat box and I will get them to him.
So then we have the peach, we have the mint, right? We're gonna measure out the Tascal. So 2.5 ounces of mezcal. Three dashes of the bitters.
Great. What kind of bitters are you using?
Just amaretto.
Okay.
Just simple, plain, classic bitters. Nothing special. Everything that usually you have at your home bar.
Right.
And we're going to open up the Popping Rose Peach Jam. We're going to put the 2 ounces of peach jam that came in the kit for those of you who are lucky enough to get the kit.
I was. How do you guys, any special way you make your jam or any?
You buy the fruit in season.
Mm-hmm.
Is the most important part. Add some ice.
I feel like ice is a thing a lot of people kind of neglect with home cocktails. Do you recommend using a mineral water to make your ice, or not just using whatever your fridge is making?
We're freezing the still water for just straight cubes. For this cocktail, you could take the Mountain Valley peach mineral water and freeze those into cubes, and they'll do the same thing, and they're just going to reinforce that flavor that's going on.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
You have everything in the shaker right now. You have the mezcal, you have the peaches, you have the mint, you have the lime juice, the bitters in there. We're going to basically place that.
Well, I've got my shaker too.
Give it a good shake. Just let it sit there, let it marinate. We're going to take this other half of this peach, just slice it real thin. I'm going to show you how to put this into a glass.
I see you're using a mason jar, the classic summery outdoor cocktail glass.
It's just wide enough for everything that you need to go in there. So ice, just thinly sliced peaches that are amazing right now. Top that off with a little bit more ice.
That looks great. I'm gonna do mine as well.
We're gonna open up the shaker. Grab the strainer. Pour all that goodness out. So this is the key to the drink right here, because it's a spritzer.
Right.
The Mountain Valley is what makes it the spritzer part. So you got the peach and the peach. Now you're gonna lighten it up. There you go. Now you have a peach mezcal spritzer.
Ooh, this looks amazing. Oh wow. And you can even keep topping it off with the sparkling water if you're trying to not get too crazy. That's delicious.
All right, so cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy, everyone.
All right, well now it's time for another trivia question. Get this one right and you could win a 6-month supply of the water. So next year, Mountain Valley Spring Water will celebrate its 150th anniversary, and it's still sourced and bottled from the original pristine mountain spring deep in the heart of the Washita Mountains. Which American president served Mountain Valley water in the White House? Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, or all of the above? We'll have the answer at the end of the program. All right, and now that we have got our refreshments, it's time to make this beautiful dish that is also going to feature peaches and the white peach water. We've got. Tell us a little bit about it, Michael.
So we're doing a Brookshire Heritage pork chop. That's going to be amazing. It's going to be glazed with peaches. It's going with beans. So we're doing a play on classic pork and beans. But we're lighting it up. So, it's super hot right now in California.
Right.
but we're doing that plus a little salad with bitter greens and summer peaches just to reinforce everything.
Awesome. Now, Berkshire pork, that's a specific breed of pig, but I feel like it's something people see a lot on menus around town and may not know exactly what it means or why it's good.
So the Berkshire porks are one of those pork chops that are just like communally raised. They're a single family, small, and they just do it well. It's grown locally in Nevada, and it's one of the best porks I've ever had in my life.
Awesome. Well, let's get cooking.
So we start with the pork chop. Well, we're gonna go to the brine first. So we gotta cook the brine. To make the brine, we're basically going to take salt and sugar. So we have our brine right here. It's just 1/4 cup salt, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, some smashed garlic cloves, some black peppercorns, and rosemary.
Good stuff.
I'm going to put that in. Then you basically, 1 full bottle or 4 cups of the Peach Mountain Valley. We're going to add 2 cups, which is going to be half the bottle.
Okay.
To that. We're going to reserve the other half just to cool down the brine later after we're done dissolving the sugar and the salt.
Cool. How did you get the idea to use the white peach water in the brine?
It's the minerality that this is going to impart from Mountain Valley, and the subtle notes of the peaches just reinforces the glaze that we'll be making later today. So it's going to be one of those amazing, just flavor on flavor and umami, just building up to the final part of it.
Got it. Delicious.
So you just put all that in, just stirring it to dissolve the salt and the sugar. Once that's done, basically we'll add the other 2 cups of the Mountain Valley water. So now the sugar and salt are all dissolved. All you're left with is this beautiful brine that's white peaches, rosemary, black peppercorn, garlic, and rosemary.
What does brining do for the meat in general?
So brining basically will replace some of the water content in the pork chop.
Okay.
And basically, instead of saying you're just putting salt and pepper on the outside,
Right.
you're actually putting full seasoning through the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
Which will give you a better flavor and keep it really moist and juicy overall.
Oh. I know in the recipe you have it, to do it for a half hour, a couple hours. Is it, if you have overnight, if you somehow miraculously plan far ahead, is that even better?
That is actually perfect. You can, this is not a super salty brine that we gave you guys a recipe for.
Okay.
So you can brine up to 24 hours and you'll be fine. But I would go longer than that as a chef. At a certain point, you're just drawing out too much and putting too much salt in. So, yeah. So, now that you make your brine, you basically put your pork chops in. You let them sit for 2 hours, preferably, if not overnight. Pull them out. So, we have our pork chops right here.
Okay.
Pull them out.
Now, are you using bone-in pork chops or boneless?
I'm doing bone-in.
Okay.
Definitely bone-in is a little bit, not better, but it just helps retain the shape and keep the moisture in. So
right.
If you look at it, this is the bone. You have all the fat right here. This is the tender side of what it is. So the bone goes all the way down, so you're not going to be able to overcook a pork chop like that.
Right. Now, if people at home are cooking their pork chops to temperature, what do you recommend?
So you can't eat pork medium, but you're usually going to cook it to like 135, 140, which is going to get it closer to that like medium well temperature necessarily that everyone is used to.
I've got a question at home, not related from people at home, not related to pork chops, but they want to know, what kind of music do you like?
I will listen to everything but country, unfortunately. So reggae, old school hip hop, jazz. As long as we have a beat that is consistent and it's upbeat and I'm happy about it, like we can listen to it in the kitchen, reggaeton, whatever it may be. Like I'll listen to it as long as it's not country. I just can't deal with that twang, unfortunately.
Right. Do you have your personal song this summer that you've been listening to a lot?
I honestly don't. You know, like I kind of like my wife was like really tripped out recently because all I would play on the ride into work was old school soul jazz music, and she's like, "Where did this come about?" Right? I've been hanging out with her dad a lot more.
Right.
And that's all he listens to. So he's a good influence. You know, their songs back in the day are relevant for where we're at in the times that we're dealing with. You know, so that's where I'm at right now.
That's good.
So now that you've dried your pork chops, right, and they pull them out of the brine.
And why do you recommend? Why do you want to dry them when they come out of the brine?
So no matter what you're doing, whether you're pan searing, whether you're going to roast it in the oven, or you're going to do what I'm doing today, which is actually grilling on a wood fire grill, you're able to take away that water that you want to be able to dry it as much as possible to caramelize it. That's the main goal, because what we have right here is basically salt and pepper, but we've added a couple other things. We added brown sugar and black pepper, a little bit of chili to it to create a simple dry rub that takes it from salt and pepper to more in-depth flavors.
Right.
So you can literally just take your favorite seasoning that you have in your pantry, that you're usually seasoning your chicken with or whatever you have in your pantry, and just season the pork chop instead of just using salt and pepper. So that's what we're going to do today. We're not going to just do salt and pepper. We're going to just simply take our little dry rub and sprinkle it on generously to the pork chops.
Would you say that most home cooks don't use as much salt as you're using in the restaurant, and that's why you're doing it?
Like, not to give away all our secrets, like, once again, like I told you, the sugar in this salt rub. The salt, sugar, black pepper, fennel, your main ingredients, a little bit of chili. But yeah, you know, salt is, like, knowing when to use it and not to use it is a big part of why we are chefs. If you taste the food and it's like, I don't understand. Like, they don't know how to use salt and pepper. Like,
right.
Basic 101 step of everyone at home. There's a problem. Now, adding sugar to your rubs and balancing out salt and sugar will elevate your game at home. So the sheer fact that there's a little bit of sugar in here will help it caramelize. It will enrich the notes that are going on.
Got it.
Pork chop. So we did the top and bottoms. We'll come back, do the nice fat cap.
Don't forget the top.
Yeah, you gotta get it all. It's like, treat it like a steak when you're dealing with pork chops. Like, you want to season it aggressively. It's a very lean, clean meat.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're imparting the flavors that you want on there and patting them in.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
And you said you're cooking over a wood-fired grill. What kind of wood are you burning?
So we're burning apple wood right now. Just because that's what we have available to us. We're going to take these, set these aside for a second. I'm going to show you how to start up making the peach glaze. So when these hit the grill, we can actually glaze them up.
We've got another question from our audience. This is from Megan. She's wondering, what is the ideal thickness for pork for grilling?
It's a personal preference necessarily, but I prefer something that's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit more forgiving necessarily when you're grilling. So, like, if your fire is super hard, burning really hot on one side or cold on the other side, you have time to correct your mistakes necessarily. The thinner it is, the faster it cooks, the more likely you're going to overcook it. So I prefer to usually anything from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick. is your preferable cut for a pork chop.
Okay, cool. And another question about the pork. Brandon is wondering, do you tenderize your pork?
So, yes and no. So those 2 hours in the brine technically act as somewhat of a tenderizer necessarily if you're changing out some of the water content or salt, which is going to help tenderize. It's going to help season it. I don't use a tenderizer pork necessarily. I don't pound it. You know, heritage pork, they did all the work for you.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it because they raise the pork. It's not stressed. It's actually really, really good pork. So you don't have to worry if you buy quality pork.
And what farm did you say you get your pork from?
So Heritage is a pork, or they do pork and other things, but they're in Nebraska basically. They are a very single family, small origin establishment, and they just know what they're doing out there when it comes to pork. So you can use like Google Heritage Pork, and they're the first ones to come up. If you're in LA, you can call Premier Meat, and Premier Meat is their main distributor. And I will show you where to go for that. So yeah. So in the pot right now, we just put the yellow peaches. We're just letting that kind of caramelize necessarily. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of butter.
And this is for the glaze we're making now?
Yeah, we're making that glaze. We're just letting my fire die down a little bit. It's a little warm right now. So we're just going to let that calm down a little bit. But in the pan, we're basically taking the peaches and the butter and just kind of like giving a nice toast to it. You basically want to almost brown that butter, brown the peaches, get them nicely seared off.
I can smell it from here.
We're going to add the 2 tablespoons of brown sugar into that, just to also help it caramelize.
And how hot do you have your heat up underneath the glaze? Is that?
This is high heat.
Okay.
Because we're about to add some Mountain Valley sparkling water to this to like really deglaze all the sugar that came off the peaches. So now that you got it nice and toasted, the butter's browning. You're basically gonna add a half cup of Mountain Valley peach water. We're gonna deglaze with that.
Now, when you talk about deglazing, what exact? I know that's a term people in the chef world know, but what exactly does it mean to deglaze something?
So deglazing is just literally saying removing all the goodness off the bottom of the pan.
Got it. That's where all the flavor is.
That's where it's all going on. You literally just want to scrape the bottom, get that off the bottom, so that it's actually in your sauce.
And you use the Mountain Valley white peach water for that. It seems like with this and the cocktail, you're really kind of layering these peach flavors over and over. How does that work in the dish?
So it's just building that repetitive but delicious summer peach flavor that you're talking about. So like you took fresh peaches, now you took the mineral infused peach water. Now we're going to add half a cup of Poppy and Rose peach jam into that.
Do you guys sell your jam?
We're in the process of getting that up to speed. We literally just did 200 pounds of peaches.
Oh my God.
So we've been canning, and doing a lot with that.
That's a lot of peaches.
It's going to be coming to you guys soon.
Ooh, awesome.
So yeah.
I've got a question from our viewers. Natasha wants to know, if you don't have a grill, can you cook the pork on the stove or in an oven?
Yes. So you can totally do it a couple of different ways. You can do it on a cast iron skillet that has ridges for a grill, which is great. You'll probably smoke out your house necessarily.
Turn off
best
the
way to
fire
do-
alarms first.
Yeah, but the best way, you can pan sear both sides, get a nice little crust going on both sides, glaze the entire pork chop, and then throw it in your oven on convection bake, basically.
Got it. About how hot would you recommend the oven be for that?
You're looking at probably like 400 degrees. Is
Okay.
the best temperature. Something that's high, because you can pull the pork chop out halfway through cooking, turn it over, reglaze that pork chop,
Ooh, yum.
which we can show you when and why you would want to reglaze necessarily. So yeah, so that's it. So we basically incorporated the Mountain Valley, the fresh peaches, a little bit of sugar into this, the Poppy and Rose peach jam. So now we're left with this beautiful, sticky.
Oh my God, that looks amazing.
It's gonna, when we put this in the blender, because we're gonna put this in the blender and blend it all up.
Okay.
It's gonna stick to these porks so amazing. It's gonna just, the flavor's gonna be off the chain. So everything just goes straight into the blender. Doesn't matter what kind of blender you have. All you gotta do is blend it up so then it's a nice tight puree.
If you're feeling lazy, could you skip the blender and just have a chunky sauce?
Oh, you can do whatever you want. Like, it's literally up to you. You pour it out. Basically, that's, it's a nice thick sauce that's just peach on peach.
Yum. Yeah, just really layering the peach with the Mountain Valley and the fresh peaches. That's awesome. Another question from home about cooking the pork. Sarah is wondering if you are using the grill pan, do you still need to put it in the oven or can you do it all on the stovetop?
I would recommend to, yes, put it in the oven still.
Okay.
Depending on how thick your steaks are, it's almost impossible to cook a steak on a cast iron skillet with ridges and actually think that you're going to get it to be 135 degrees
Right.
without smoking out your house. It's easier to put the marks on it, then put it in the oven at 400 and do the same steps of glazing it up in the oven. Yeah. So now that we have the pork chops brining and they're dried and rubbed, I'm going to show you basically the bean side of it. So you got the Mountain Valley water right here that we're cooking in just because it has amazing minerality to it.
Okay.
We have our mixed beans that we got. So you got boiling water or simmering water. Put the beans in that have been lightly salted.
Okay. And are those, you're using dried beans or canned beans?
I'm doing dry beans right now. You can go to the farmer's market right now. There are in season that you can get fresh filling beans. I just have these lying around the house. So we got these at the farmer's market on Sunday. And they're just dry heirloom beans, basically.
Awesome.
So
What kind of beans are in that mix?
So we have the butter bean, cannellini beans, and cranberry beans in here right now. But it's just 3/4 of water, lightly salted the beans. We're going to put in some aromatics, which is just thyme and bay leaf. And then we're just going to put a lid that's like a jar to it. So they just cook low and slow, and those will be cooking for like the next 45 minutes.
Awesome.
Depending on what happens, just test them. Just try and get to a bean that's like nice and tender because it's a whole bean salad, and you'll be good.
I've got a couple more questions from people at home. On the cocktail, how would it work with bourbon? Would the peaches work well with that, would you say?
I think you can totally do bourbon on a cocktail like that. You can do regular tequila. You can do vodka. It's literally your personal preference because it's a spritzer.
Right. So it's pretty flexible.
You can really pair what you want with it. And peaches are very versatile. So it's like you can do the gin, the vodka, the bourbons, the mezcals, the tequilas. You'll still end up with an amazing cocktail.
And another question about substitutes. If you don't like pork, is there another kind of meat that might work well with this recipe, or a vegetarian version that might be good?
So you could do, for a non-pork person, you could do chicken. A nice thick chicken breast would do really well. And take the flavors for the salad and the beans really well. Or you could do a compressed tofu dish.
Oh yeah, that'd be.
And have a baked tofu dish that's like glazed with the peaches and everything else, and you still have all the different variations on all the same flavors coming forward.
Awesome. Another very, very serious question about Carson wants to know, how many cocktails should you have before you cook this?
That's all depending on the person. That's all up to you. If you want to get through your meal and your dinner, I would start with one. Because this is a cocktail, it's 2.5 ounces of Mezcal or a liquor.
Right.
It's a creeper. It doesn't really. You have the Mountain Valley, so you're hydrating yourself necessarily.
Right. I'm gonna top mine off a little bit.
It's a little bit strong. If you had two of them, that's almost 3 shots.
Right. You gotta.
So take your time. It's a creeper.
Now, if you're using canned beans, we would skip this whole step and.
Skip the whole step.
Yeah, we're not cooking. You're not cooking them at all. You're just gonna rinse them.
Open the cans. You're gonna rinse them. Call it a day.
Right.
We're gonna start cooking the pork chops, so we can actually get to the fun part of eating. So now it's the fun part. You're adding it to the flame. So we're just gonna throw them on high to medium heat in the beginning, because we want to get that crust on them.
Right.
We want to get them nice and sharp. So I have a hot side to the grill, a medium, and I have a cold side. In the beginning, we're literally just looking for the crust necessarily as we're grilling, and then we can start moving over as we're satisfied with the color that's going on and the caramelizations that's going on with the pork chop. Then we can start moving it over and closing the lid and cooking the pork chops to the proper temperature.
Are you worried about flare-ups at all with the sugar and the fat there?
You do, because there is that huge fat count that's on there. Don't have a raging flame. Like, if you look at the coals that I have, they're not coals that I just lit and burning
right.
at the top. They're coals that have been cooking for a little bit of time, so they're cool, they're hot, they're fine, but you will get flare-ups because it's a thick fat cap on these pork chops, and you just got to pay attention to it and move them around.
And you mentioned a lot about the farmer's market. What's your favorite farmer's market in the city, would you say?
Santa Monica is my favorite. My second favorite would have to be Hollywood on Sundays are my two favorite to go to.
Nice.
It's been a little bit interesting in COVID to go to the farmer's market right now, but it's still worth the time and energy to go support our small farmers out there that are showing up to these farmers market.
Definitely.
The stuff that's coming out right now at the farmers market is hands down the best product that you can get right now.
It's like peak season, amazing. Yeah.
It's like I've not seen this for a while. We got perfect rain in the winter to early spring. Was not too hot, not too cold. It was perfect.
So you think this is an especially good year for produce?
I just started this, and this is like weeds.
Oh, wow,
I got
that's
tomatoes
impressive.
and broccoli and everything else. I'm like, I'm not even doing the farmer's market justice, but I had to take my downtime and figure out what I wanted to do. So we started growing tomatoes and other stuff. And this is my first aquaponics system, and it's going well.
Wow.
So I wanted a garden for 6 years, and I finally got it out.
This is what it took to get you to do it. Angie is wondering, how do you know when the pork chops are done?
Thermometers are a great tool for home chefs. Yeah. I can tell you by touch, because I've been doing it for a while, thermometers are your best friends. Like, for sure. Unless you have a Traeger that tells you the temperature that's inside your grill and the meat temperature, you're not going to know. Just buy a thermometer, and you'll be able to tell. Like, 145 to 150 is where you want to be for a pork chop. So it's more on the medium side. It's not overcooked. So we're going to glaze the pork right now.
Okay.
So you just give it a nice little lathering to it.
Look at those nice grill marks.
We'll do both sides.
And how many times should you glaze it throughout the cooking?
So you don't want to necessarily start with the glaze, because the glaze will just burn off necessarily if you're trying to sear off the pork chop. So once you get an okay sear on it, or like 50% of where you think you should be, then that's when I would start adding the glaze to it. Otherwise, the glaze has so much sugar just because of the peaches that it's gonna just burn, and you'll end up with a huge charcoal.
Right, you're gonna. What flavor does the applewood impart on the pork?
So it's that familiar flavor of brunch, that you see at Poppy Rose, where it's just that smoky, earthy characteristics of what you would think bacon is, because 90% of the time you're eating bacon that's been applewood smoked. So you're basically importing that same flavor that you're used to seeing in bacon into the pork chop. Right.
Ooh, look at that flame.
The medium side right now. Let them hang out, but they're nice and glazed. We'll just touch them up a little bit more. This will probably take about 20 minutes.
Okay, so a good amount of time.
Yeah, you high heat and then medium heat to just let them sit, chill, and like come up to temp. Will take you about 20 minutes, depending on if they're coming straight out of the fridge or if you left them outside to temper after you brine them.
Right.
Depends on what you did.
Do you recommend taking them out of the fridge, getting them to room temp before you put them on the grill? I
do, just because it makes it easier. So when you're talking about steaks, pork, anything that's going to grill, a big cut, that's not going to sit in that temperature danger zone for too long.
Right.
You're going to cook it right away. Then, yeah, pull it out, let it come up to a proper temperature, and then cook it right away.
Got it. You've been talking a lot about the minerality of the Mountain Valley water. Tell me a little bit about what you mean, what kind of flavor that adds.
It is one of those things that I've had Mountain Valley in my restaurant in Poppy and Rose since we started. It was the first bottle of water that we brought in after coffee tastings, where we just tasted every coffee distributor out there. And
right.
Did the same thing for the water. And we're like, Mountain Valley is where we want to be. The minerality, the flavor profile, and where their story lies of being an actual American-based water company made sense for an iconic kind of American diner concept for what Poppy was.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to start assembling the bean ragu, bean salad necessarily, and get that seasoned. So
if you were using canned beans, this is where you jump in.
This is where you jump in. So you cook your beans, you turn it around, drain your beans, let your beans rest and come to room temperature. You can refrigerate them or leave them at room temperature. So here's our bean mix right now. So this is if you just open the cans, rinse the cans, now you have beans. So it's pretty straightforward. You're just gonna add a ton of herbs and seasoning to this. So we're gonna start with like the basic parsley. Just give that a nice little rough chop. Like everything you're doing for a bean salad is not, you don't have to mince it, you don't have to pulverize it. Just 1, 2, 3, one way to the next. Add it. You don't want to make it turn black on your cutting board.
Right.
Chop it up. Just give it a nice run through and you're fine. Same thing with the mint. You don't want to do this like bruise it, turn it to something that's like off peeling in your dish.
Right.
Just a nice rough chop.
Again, the sharp knife comes in handy.
Sharp knife comes in handy. Throw that in. So parsley chive or parsley mint, and we're gonna add that. I'm gonna take a step back, turn the pork chop.
And can people feel free to kind of substitute some of their other herbs, whatever they have around, might have handy in the garden?
Oh yeah, it's not like the beautiful thing about herbs. You're just adding one more note. It's like
right
in a symphony or a symphony. It's like you have the flute, all the other instruments ready to go. You're just adding another one to this dish. So the more you add, the better it's going to taste. The less you have, it's still going to be amazing as long as you know how to season it.
Natasha, we've got another question from the audience. Natasha is wondering, besides the microwave, what's the best way to thaw meat?
So the question is never thaw your meat in a microwave.
Okay.
Microwaves are not defrosters. We have hopefully access to food that's fresh and not frozen. But if you're going to thaw food, just either put it in your refrigerator from the freezer or put it under cold water and let it run for like an hour and thaw it out that way, and then probably cook it.
Got it.
Microwaving is not, like, in a restaurant world, doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Like, we do one of the two, but we try and always say fresh is always going to be your number one option. Same thing with the oregano. We're just going to chop a ton of oregano, add that in.
Are any of these herbs from your garden?
The mint is from the garden. The chives, you can see are growing back there.
Nice.
The parsley's from here. Like, this is my first garden in 6 years, and we're trying to do a lot because I have raised beds, I have other raised beds, and I have the hydroponics or the aquaponics, and it's a different learning curve. Like, it's different than just being like, I have pristine vegetables delivered to my door. It's literally like,
it's a little.
Wait, I appreciate you guys so much more because this is so much harder than I thought it was. Like, all of a sudden, caterpillars come in one day and you're like, I had everything growing great. And it's gone.
What's been your most successful crop?
The tomato plants that are growing in hydroponics are about 6 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
Chilies are growing well. The mustard, basically mixed greens are growing well. So we're just doing, like, I'm using lemon vinaigrette for this one, and we'll use lemon vinaigrette again for the other dishes.
And what goes in your lemon vinaigrette, or can you buy a lemon vinaigrette that's decent?
I don't really know, but usually a lemon vinaigrette consists of shallots, microplane garlic, 2-to-1 oil to lemon ratio necessarily. So you may be able to find one, but just if you have olive oil and lemon juice,
that's pretty easy. Yeah,
you can do the same thing. A little salt and pepper goes a long way. At some point, Poppy and Rose will probably start selling something, but this is what we do. We add a honey to it to sweeten it because we use our own lemons in house. But it has the shallots, the garlic, olive oil, lemon juice, 2-to-1 ratio, basically. And we're just going to add that generously to the bean mix.
I've got another question from our viewers. Lindell is wondering what kind of knife you're using.
So all my knives are bought from Jason from Japanese Knife Import off of Wilshire and Beverly Hills. He's been, like, since I've been in LA, I bought all my knives from him because he literally knows what he's talking about. So This is a knife that I bought when I decided to be very ballsy and cook my food for our own wedding. I was like, you're going to buy yourself a knife and you're going to chop everything up. So this is the knife that's in our house, and it's a constant reminder of how much work we put in, you know, to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's totally worth it. Like, it's totally worth it. But they're all, like, depending on what your price point is, he has knives that are, like, designed for home chefs to professional chefs to you're just showing off and you want to spend money like a Maserati. He has all of them. So, like, quality, he's never going to steer you wrong. Technique to sharpening to everything else, like, he's going to send you in the right direction.
He's your
so
guy.
Just go to Japanese Knife Imports in Beverly Hills and he'll hook you up.
Cool.
So, yeah. Got the herbs, got the lemon Ben. We're just going to cut a little red onion thin. We're just going to small dice it.
And a sharp knife means no tears.
No tears. Like, honestly, like, it's weird. Like, we cut a lot of onions, and it's very rare. There's every once in a while, there's just that batch of onions that is, it will make you cry no matter what. But
right.
Sharp knife definitely helps. So, for the bean, if you have a slide spoon, works a little bit better in the long game, so you don't have to go find another spoon.
Right.
If you look at it, there's a decent amount of liquid. If you want those beans to absorb that liquid, when it comes time to plating, you don't want that liquid on your plate necessarily.
Right.
So a slotted spoon in the beginning will save you one more dish in the long run.
Got it. And why do you? They're kind of absorbing the flavor.
They're absorbing the flavor. They're going to sit there for about like 10 minutes or so. When we're going to add just a little bit more lemon juice, then we're going to season it with salt and pepper and a little extra virgin olive oil.
And do you have a favorite type of salt?
I like lemon or the red pink sea salt for everything, for finishing. But when you're talking about just in general for everything else, pasta water, everything we do, brines, kosher salt is the way to go.
And do you have a favorite brand of kosher salt?
I wish it was Morton's, but it's not. It's Diamond Kosher Salt.
Which is harder to get.
It's harder to get. We've had issues even getting it for the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is a little bit weird, but it's Diamond Kosher Salt. It's a textural thing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a count to a chef. Like, I can touch salt, whether it's iodine, table salt, and you're just like it's not right in the fingers. To different kosher salts, to finishing salts, and you like when it's in your hand, you know how to season, and when the salt changes and you season the same way, all of a sudden it's like, that was really salty, chef, and you're like, yeah, you're right. It's different salt.
Right.
So. But you just said, like, at home, what you have is what you have. Just get yourself familiarized with what you have.
Right.
So those are your beans. We're going to move on to your salad aspect, which is going to be really fast and simple. So we have all your wonderful bitter greens. We have arugula, radicchio, endive, frisee, already trimmed and pre-washed.
Oh, wow, those look beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just going to take that, put that into the bowl. We have our mustard greens back here. Give these a little tear.
What are some other greens that might be good in the salad if you can't find all these, or you're improving?
So anything so mesclun mixed greens could work, but it doesn't really matter. Like, you're just using these greens because there's bitterness to it, which will help cut through the fat. Any leafy green will pair well with the salad that you're making and still help cut through the fat of the pork. So you'll be fine with any of those leafy greens.
And I imagine the bitterness is nice with the kind of sweetness of the peaches.
Yep. So we're just going to add fennel. Add more summer peaches.
We've got a question from Bill at home. He's wondering about the pork. Is it still over a flame, or is it kind of off to the side, just chilling now?
It's off to the side, just resting right now,
Got it.
basically. So like,
And what's the ideal amount of time to let a pork chop rest?
as long as it's somewhere where it's warm, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, preferably. But you don't have to wait a ton of time to necessarily do it. Like 5 minutes is the best way to look at it. 10 minutes is even better. But if it's 10 minutes and it's cold, you need to put it somewhere where it's warm.
Right. Not too many cold places today in LA.
I would have to agree with that. So let's reveal the salad fennel. Peaches.
Ooh, that looks gorgeous.
We're just going to keep adding a little bit more herbs. So parsley, chives, basil. So just those 3 ton of fresh herbs necessarily into that. It's going to just give you that brightness that you're looking for.
Right.
Just going to toss that with a little lemon vinaigrette.
Ooh.
Salt.
And that's the same vinaigrette as the beans.
Same vinaigrette. As you can tell, we're using similar ingredients. One, to keep it easy when you're at home, but 2, it's just refortifying that dish and like bringing everything together. So you don't ever want to overdress your greens, just lightly so they're shiny. Taste them so that you can see if they have flavor.
Right. Don't add too much at first. It's easier to add more.
There you go.
Another question from the audience. Do the peaches have to be ripe?
Ideally, yes. But if you don't have any peaches that are ripe, then you can use for, especially the glaze, because you're adding some sugar to it, you can use underripe peaches for that.
Right.
But ideally, you would want to have ripe peaches, especially for a soft salad like this or a bitter green salad. You want to have greens and everything just at their peak.
Right. But if you have to save your ripe peaches for the salad and
you save your ripe peaches for the salad, harder ones in the glaze because you're cooking them down and everything else. So we're going to show you how to go to plate right now. Plating to me is an individual artistic version of what you want to do. So it's up to everyone, but if I was going to plate this dish, it would basically be a little of the glaze on the bottom.
Okay.
And that's where I'm going to set my pork chop most likely.
Got it.
You can take these wonderful light beans. Just make sure you're draining that liquid off.
Oh, right.
Necessarily. Otherwise, you'll end up with like just a bunch of lemon and olive oil on the bottom, which is not bad flavors to the dish. But if you're plating and you want to impress your guests and show them that you paid attention in class, like drain the beans a little bit.
Find that slotted spoon.
So you got your beans. Now we're going to just take that bitter green salad, just put it right next to it. You got that fennel, you got that peach, you got all these bitter greens that are going to cut through that fatty pork chop.
All right. Well, that looks great.
Right? So we're already at a good start right there. Right?
It looks like we haven't even seen the pork yet, and it looks like some are on a plate.
So now we're going to put the pork right there. So now you got this pork chop that's been resting, charred, it's glazed up. You might have to give it one last glaze. You know, just get that goodness on there. Here's your bone.
And is there any pink in the pork chop or?
So it's very basically right there at that medium well.
Right.
You know, anything over medium, like it gets a little bit tricky to serve that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can if someone really wants it that way. But most restaurants will tell you they always will only serve your pork chop medium.
Right.
And that's how I will serve it to you. So you basically got that dish right there. Going with this cocktail right here.
Oh my gosh, looks so good.
So you got peaches, beans, peaches, and peaches.
Lots of delicious peaches. I've just got the cocktail.
And you know, this like just having this is what kept me hydrated most of my day today, getting ready for this. It's smooth, it's easy, it's enjoyable. I like everything that Mountain Valley's been doing.
The bottles are beautiful.
Oh, too. Have you seen? I feel like I went up a step when I got this in my house. Like a glass water bottle versus it's plastic water bottle. Like that's 100% glass. I feel like I just hit a new social class.
It is very classy.
You know, so that's what we got for you. But like, I can't thank you guys enough. Like this has been so much fun.
Yeah. Before any remaining questions or comments from Michael about making these dishes? All right, I think we're good on that. So we're going to ask our final trivia question. This is the big question of the night to win 12 months of home delivery. Mountain Valley Water was the exclusive backstage water of what musician? Aretha Franklin, Elvis Presley, Tom Petty, or Frank Sinatra? And again, this is to win a whole year of home delivery.
Wow.
And you can imagine why, a picky musician might be inclined to put that on their rider. I know you were talking about the taste, but it's interesting to know Mountain Valley Water is a 5-time gold medal winner at the Berkeley International Water Tasting. So it's got a lot of big fans and chefs and celebrities and such. So we will have the winners shortly, but that is our happy hour is coming to an end. Thank you so much, Michael. You guys are offering takeout and delivery at the restaurant right now, and then you have outdoor seating as well?
We don't have outdoor. We're working on doing a collaboration that will happen probably in the next month or so. Cool. We're going to take over the Flower Market roof deck, do a drive-in movie theater, and we're going to launch our supper club. So stay tuned for that one.
What is the supper club? What is that going to be like?
The supper club is going to be like a 4 to 6 course meal that's just seasoning driven, technique driven concept that me and my friend are launching after hours at Poppy and Rose. Very
cool. Well, thank you so much. We got one more. We got a last minute question sneaking in, but it's a good one. The plates that you're using, those are beautiful ceramics. Who makes those?
So this is a local guy that I've been buying all my plates for all my restaurants recently for him. Mm-hmm. And it's the Pottery Studio that's in Glendale, Eagle Rock area, basically. Cool. But he's basically started this because he has his own 2 restaurants. Right. But then he started a pottery studio, and I fell in love with them.
They're very cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for cooking for us and answering all our questions. And we've had a lot of great questions from the audience, so thank you guys.
Thank everyone.
Remember, Poppy and Rose, you can get takeout and delivery and soon outdoor seating. And starting August 17th, you will also get a complimentary bottle of Mountain Valley spring water when you order $30 or more.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So thank you guys. It was a pleasure cooking with you guys at home. I hope you enjoyed the cocktail and this dish that we created especially for you guys with Mountain Valley. I look forward to many more.
Awesome. Well, have a good night. Enjoy your barbecue.
I will.
All right, now we are going to announce the winners of our trivia contest, who will get home delivery for 3, 6, and 12 months. Question 1, The answer was Parks and Recreation. That was the show that Mountain Valley Water was featured on. And Cynthia Thornton is our winner there. Then question 2 asked about the presidents that had it in Mountain Valley Water in the White House, and the answer was all of the above. And so Eileen Duncan is is the lucky winner of a 6-month supply of the water. And then question 3 about which musician had it backstage for the grand prize of a whole year of Mountain Valley Water. And the winner on that one is Brendan Dunn. So congratulations to all our winners. Thanks all of you at home for joining us. And a big thanks to Mountain Valley Spring Water for sponsoring today's episode. I hope you guys all had fun and learned some stuff. And will join us again for another happy hour. Cheers.